It says here that the Wall Street Journal is working on a big news story detailing Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and sources say Trump is desperately trying to block its publication. He allegedly called the WSJ's editor-in-chief in an attempt to kill the story.
Sirens on Drudge, woo, 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 because someone drew in 2003, might have drawn a picture of a body letter before the guy even, all the real info hadn't even been out at that point, I don't think, about this guy.
The president and I talked about that ridiculous allegation this morning. He said it's patently absurd. He's never drawn such a picture. He's never thought of drawing such a picture. And he said, did you see the language of this bogus supposed communication or card or something I supposedly sent to Epstein? He said, I don't talk like that. I don't think like that. They're literally making things up. And he's so frustrated by it. And he's going to wind up, I think, suing some of the media outlets that have put all this out there because they informed them that it was totally contrived. So, look, the president is the most maligned and attacked political figure in the history of American politics. There's no question about it. But he's also the most resilient. And you see at the same time his approval ratings are skyrocketing. By CNN had a story, I think, a day or two ago. He was at 90% approval rating. There's never been a president that high. So the more that they attack him, the more the American people see through it.
Charlie Kirk says this is pure gold. CNN is forced to read their latest polling of the Democrat Party, which stands at just 28% favorability, the lowest in the history of their poll data, dating back all the way back to 1992.
There's this new CNN polling out today that says quite a bit. Just 28% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorably. And the context of that is the lowest mark for Democrats in the history of CNN's polling going back to 1992. And for Democrats, they have a lot more work to do to win back favorability within their ranks, within the party, than Republicans do. There's this new CNN polling out.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out for midterms. Rapid Response 47 says the President of the United States' tariffs motivated Samsung to build a $500 million washing machine facility plant in South Carolina, creating over 1,600 U.S. jobs. Creating jobs. Now, there's a headline you won't see on a Michael Bordenero video.
President Trump's tariffs are now luring at least a couple of foreign companies to manufacture their products stateside. This includes South Korea's Samsung. They are now going to produce their washing machines out of Newberry, South Carolina. Steve Harrigan has those details for us. Hey, Steve.
Jillian, those washing machines are actually rolling off the assembly lines right behind me. There's not a whole lot of debate in Newberry, South Carolina about whether or not President Trump's tariffs help or hurt the economy. Here, they say it helps. Putting in 20 to 50% tariffs on foreign-made washing machines back in 2018 motivated Samsung to build a $500 million washing machine manufacturing plant here, making them instantly the county's largest taxpayer.
I think tariffs are a really important topic in our current environment, even before tariffs became a really hot topic.
There's a voice you didn't expect to go with that face.
We're trying to strive for that American dream, right? Made in America for Americans.
That factory also created more than 1,600 jobs here, starting salary of $17 an hour. That's a lot higher than the local minimum wage here of just $7.50 an hour.
Family. We just run over to the electronic area. I get a really proudful feeling when I see those customers walking out of the store with product that was built here in Newberry.
But, listen to what they were saying. Tariffs introduced in President Trump's first term produced the results we see today, okay? And so just think about that. And think about the time that's required and needed for certain things to take effect. For instance, drugs. We'll talk about that in just a second. But first, Elizabeth Warren supports Mom Donnie's plan for government-run grocery stores. She says it's been tried in other cities and around the country and has had some real successes.
He said, we've got a problem with entire food deserts where people can't get access to grocery stores. Said, I'd like to take a look at whether or not we can have some kind of, like we do on military bases, you have some kind of support from the city government that says we're going to get some food grocery stores in areas that right now are food deserts. And by the way, it's a new and fresh plan for New York City, but it's been tried in other cities around the country and has had some real successes. So what I hear Mom Donnie saying is, I want to try things to make it work for working families. And you know what? This is how democracy works. A lot of people in New York City said, that sounds good to me. I'd rather try that than any of the other alternatives available to me. I support that. He said, we've got a problem with entire...
Elizabeth Warren, I know a lot of people are going to tune out after I say this, but she's right. So Elizabeth Warren supports Mom Donnie's plan for government-run stores and said it's been tried in other cities with some real successes. Can you give me some examples of what Elizabeth Warren is talking about, and perhaps some that were not successful? So I understand people are going to tune out. They're going to hear what they want to hear, but she's right. And it's not just that. We need to expand. There needs to be context behind and around what's being said here. It takes time to try new things based on previous instances of success to see if they can work long term, big scale. For instance, tariffs. Elizabeth Warren is right. There have been successes, much like we are seeing with Trump's tariff successes. Just like she wants to placate that these government-run grocery stores have been successful in some other cities, so have President Trump's tariffs. Now, granted, they're not an equal and level playing field, but the point is that government intervention by way of introducing tariffs for foreign countries and imported goods and or government controlling grocery stores. Okay, if these things work well, how can we make them work better on a bigger scale? You see what I'm saying? Maybe, maybe not. And so Elizabeth Warren's endorsement of Zohran Mamdani's plan for government-run grocery stores points to a growing interest in public grocery models to address food deserts and rising food costs. And below are examples of government-run or government-supported grocery stores in U.S. cities, including both successful and unsuccessful cases based on available information. And this is important because, granted, there are a lot of opponents and challengers and naysayers of President Trump's tariffs, presenting historic evidence of unsuccessful attempts at tariffs. So we can't just only sit here and take Elizabeth Warren for face value of there have been some successes, because by saying that, it inevitably means that in inverse, there have been some that have been unsuccessful. Now, if she were to have said they have all been successful, then that's a different story. But we can't just look at the good. We have to look at what could possibly be the bad. Successful examples of grocery-run or government-run grocery stores: St. Paul, Kansas, St. Paul Supermarket, military commissaries nationwide, Venice, Illinois in development. I guess it's not even actually there yet. Unsuccessful examples of government-run grocery stores include Baldwin, and the challenges included the store struggled to compete with a nearby Walmart, which offered lower prices due to greater buying power. It failed to break even and closed in March of 2024 after less than 5 years of operation. Reasons for failure: limited economies of scale, high operational costs, and competition from big box retailers like Walmart made it unsustainable. The store's closure left the town reliant on convenience stores and a Dollar General. That's not good. Erie, Kansas. The store lost money almost every month, posting only one profitable month in 2022 and a total loss of $132,000 that year. It struggled with competition from a Walmart 15 miles away and a Dollar General across the street. Operational issues such as stocking, expired food, and refrigeration failures further hampered performance. And in 2023, the city leased the store to a private operator who is yet to reopen it, and indicating ongoing challenges. You got to think, our government, there's a school district somewhere, I think it was in Chicago, that just went bankrupt.
Chicago Public Schools just announced it's laying off more than 1,400 school-based employees. This includes 432 teachers and 677 special ed classroom assistants. CPS says this is part of its annual workforce planning and budgeting process. Historically, the district says more than 80% of impacted employees have secured new positions within CPS prior to the start of the school year. It's not known if the current $734 million budget deficit will impact that rehiring process.
Just went bankrupt, okay? How does the school system go bankrupt? Poor money management. I don't know, corruption, theft, fraud, abuse, laundering. Imagine if the government got their hands on grocery stores and they could introduce the same failing strategies that we've already seen time and time again by way of Elizabeth Warren pushing for this. Remember, she was a huge proponent of USAID, and we know where that money was going. And so I can only see how these grifts, these money grabs by way of the government can steal money from you and I, taxpayers, to then create these equal opportunity food desert solutions that will then fail miserably, lose money month after month, and we will continue to see folks like Elizabeth Warren's net worth increase and rise. And I don't know about you, but I kind of find it hard to believe that these food deserts exist with these government-run grocery stores failing due to competition from Walmart. I don't know how you can have a Walmart, supercenter, grocery store, and then consider it to be a food desert. Just not adding up over here, folks. Winchester, Illinois. Great Scott Community Market. The store lost customers to a nearby Walmart and a Dollar General that began selling fresh produce and meats. It struggled to compete on price and selection, leading to its closure shortly after a visit from a state legislator researching food desert solutions. Reasons for failure: similar to Baldwin, the store faced intense competition from larger retailers with better wholesale deals and broader product ranges, highlighting the difficulty of sustaining small-scale grocery operations. And there you have it, folks. It won't work. No, it won't. Not in any reasonable expectation of long-term success. And Elizabeth Warren referencing like one store and commissaries is a stretch, folks. That is a freaking stretch to even dream that this could be a long-term viable solution. But like I said, Elizabeth Warren is right. And hear me out, folks, because this is actually a potential solution. Think about it. Government-run grocery stores. Sounds like a terrible idea. In fact, I think it is a terrible idea. However, for the people who would need, want, and or rely on these government-run grocery stores, they should have access to them. Eliminate food stamps. Eliminate EBT. Eliminate it. And the people who need the government to provide them with food should only be allowed to shop at these government-run grocery stores. But here's the catch. These government-run grocery stores mustn't stock shelves with junk food, soda, junk, just crap, everything that RFK Jr. is trying to eliminate and make America healthy again. And they need to have ample fresh foods and everything you see on the perimeter of the grocery store. That sounds like a great idea to me. What do you guys think? But like I said, it takes time for these things to be effective, for the medicine to work. Breaking: President Trump just scored a massive victory on lowering pharmaceutical prices for Americans. Another campaign promise fulfilled, which may fall by the wayside and be I don't know the right term to use here to describe how no one's going to hear about this, know about this, worry about this, care about this, be concerned about this, as it dims in comparison to the Epstein files scandal. The widely used blood thinner Eliquis will be sold at a discount directly to Americans, over 40% off. Wow. This follows discussions with the Trump administration, and the listing starts September 8th. Millions of people use this medication, and they will give direct shipping to patients. Sounds like a huge win to me, folks. And as far as a huge win when it comes to healthcare, let's talk about that. Because our friends at Chapter are doing amazing things, wonderful things, tremendous things for folks just like you. Loyal channel subscribers, viewers, longtime friends and family. Here we are, folks. It's another day. It's amazing. It's a beautiful day. And I hope that you guys are taking advantage of the opportunities that you have available to you. I will keep the number on the screen for you throughout the entire duration of this video. So if you or anyone you know is on Medicare or soon will be enrolling, feel free, reach out, give the folks at Chapter a call and get your free Medicare help, free Medicare advice, and see how you can save some money, folks. On average, people are calling Chapter and in just a few short minutes saving thousands of dollars. And it's actually really, really simple, really easy, because Chapter is the only unbiased, non-biased. They're not doing this based on how much money they're going to make on commissions and pushy sales. No, they're the only ones that search every plan nationwide, and their advisors are unbiased. I mean, I think that's those two are some of the greatest strengths. I've got some comments here. One of them says, another comment here saying that they have saved over $1,000. Folks watching these videos, my videos, this channel, subscribers, some comments actually from my wife's channel. I finally called. Lori Wright says, I finally called Chapter and they helped me a lot. Thank you very much. Tammy Smith, listen to Michelle about Chapter. I turned 65 in August and called Chapter last month and actually talked to an American. She was very nice and helpful and saved me hundreds of dollars a month, which means her number was $338.07 a month, which means $4,056.84 a year. Before I read these other comments, I want to know what you guys would do with another $4,000 right now. What would you do? How would that change your lives? And just leave it in the comment section down below. Would you pay off some credit card debt? Would you invest in some assets like gold? Would you buy some more supplies and stock up? Would you replace the tires on your car or your truck? What would it be? Let me know in the comments. And Marilyn, she says, Chapter is awesome, 3 exclamation points. I was a medical coder and oh my goodness, the Medicare issue slays even me. I called and they will call me back in October. I love that you give those details about signing up. I think the strongest one there is the fact that you get a real person who actually cares and who you can understand because English is their first language. Cowboy 3906 says, I called Chapter and they told me that I have the best coverage that I could have with my current capacity. Thank you for letting me get a checkup that I could trust. And that's just it, folks. Call Chapter. And at the end of the day, no matter what, you're going to get good news. Think about it. Either they tell you you are in the very best possible place you could be, unbiased, not just trying to, manipulate or anything like that. Or they say, well, here's a way you could save some money. I mean, how can you beat that? Peace of mind and money savings. Dial the number on your screen, 270-467-2426. I'll leave it down in the description. It'll be in the pinned comment. And yeah, 270-467-2426. Call our friends at Chapter. Tell them Kevin sent you. Tell them Michelle sent you. Either way, I'm sure you'll be glad that you did. New, Joy Reid has a meltdown after Piers Morgan plays the video of her crying after getting fired from MSNBC. Colin Rugg says this is absolutely brutal.
Away, denaturalizing. That's Idi Amin behavior. There's a black fascist that you can compare him to.
Okay, let's move on to, I want to just play a clip of when you lost your job at MSNBC. Let's watch this.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV. And whether it's talking about any of these issues, and yes, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object, to little babies being bombed. And I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And you know, I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
Now, look, you're perfectly entitled to be proud of your show. Many people enjoyed your show for many years. You know, a lot of people at NBC were briefing that the reason was declining ratings post the election, a 47% decrease in your election, in ratings from pre-election. But you told Mark Lamont Hill on his show this.
After I said on my show that the reason Americans could relate to Ukrainians in a way that they didn't relate to Palestinians, that Ukrainians are white. And so watching white people get their schools bombed was, you know, hit different. That hit our ratings. I mean, it definitely, we could see the loss of white viewers from that moment that I said that. Right. So they were like, we don't like the name calling. And also I'm a black woman. So, I mean, I'm sure it makes him angrier, you know, when I say things. Maybe because I am a global South person myself, you know, I mean, as a black person, we have a different empathy toward other global South people when they are suffering. And so we're going to come at that story from a different angle and in a different way and with different kinds of empathies. And I think that's not always received very well in the news business.
Now, Joy, I mean, look, let's be honest. I don't think you were fired after all those years because of your skin color or because you're a black woman. I think you were fired because your show just got increasingly unpopular. It happens all the time in TV. That's why you got let go. Why play the race card?
First of all, I love the fact that your play the race card is your version of the race card. You literally are so fixated on trying to racialize conversations with me, Piers, that I find it actually quite charming.
You racialize more conversations in your tenure at MSNBC than any host in history.
All right, Mark. All right, Piers. And the bottom line is you take an entire conversation that I had with Mark Lamont Hill and pick the bits that you can racialize because this is your shtick. And I get that this is your shtick.
You racialize everything, Joy. Come on.
I get it. I understand this is your shtick, Piers. And listen, game recognized game. I get this is your game.
It's not my shtick.
And the bottom line,
it was your shtick.
It is your shtick, and everyone knows that it is.
It was your shtick.
Piers, we
people
understand
got bored
what
with
it is.
it.
And it is so interesting to me that you yourself, as a white European, find that when people of color talk about race, that you believe is racializing conversations. But when people like you fixate on, well, Barack Obama was a black president, why don't you object to that? That is racializing a conversation about the former president of the United States. But you can't put your, and I'm sure you find that charming and funny.
I find it hilarious because you're the one. You're the one who said Donald Trump.
You and your friend Donald Trump.
You said Donald Trump is a white fascist.
Are so he is a well. I agree with Mark
when Obama
Milley,
did the same thing,
last time I checked,
I'm not allowed to mention his skin color.
I agree with his former chief of staff, who last I checked was not black and said he's fascist. And Mark Milley said he's fascist to the core. Okay. So I happen to agree, and I know this is what it's important to you, with two very white gentlemen about Donald Trump's fascist tendencies.
Okay.
If that makes you sad and uncomfortable, I can't help you. Piers.
No, it doesn't make me sad and
I
uncomfortable. I think it makes you a little bit of a hypocrite, but that's different.
We see here a clip from the Chappelle Show with Charlie Murphy laughing at the idea that the Wall Street Journal wants us to believe that President Trump typed a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. And then President Trump, Donald J. Trump, hand drew a naked woman around the letter. And that this was never leaked over the last 22 years until now. It magically showed up today or yesterday. And if you want to see it, well, you're not allowed to see the letter. And if you really want to see it, you got to pay Wall Street Journal to get through their paywall. Astronomer CEO Andy Byron's wife is going to be so rich. And I guess that's his wife. I'm not really sure. Soon to be ex-wife. Or maybe they stay married and she just has him by the balls. But I don't know. You guys tell me. She looks way hotter than the girl he was with at the damn Coldplay concert. New Senator Ron Wyden just revealed that Jeffrey Epstein's Treasury file shows 4,725 wire transfers totaling nearly $1.1 billion, all from a single bank account. Never thought I'd see Democrats talking about Epstein. What timeline are we living in?
Last year, the Biden administration allowed our investigators to look at portions of the file. We did that at the Treasury building. Here is what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to trafficking.
But, this one's actually kind of interesting because, that was one of the things that Elon spoke about during his time at Doge, and how literally the government had just one bank account. I wonder if there's any tie or any connection to this 4,725 wire transfers totaling nearly $1.1 billion coming from a single bank account.
There is an Epstein file down there at the Treasury Department, and it ought to be used as the foundation for a follow-the-money investigation. The reality is, you build a operation of the size that we know this was, there's a tremendous amount of money moving, and it ought to be followed up to see how it was handled.
Can you sort of touch on just the key findings in this most recent tranche of revelations that you guys have put out?
Well, the key finding, of course, is that this is all about trafficking, and you can't run a trafficking operation of this size without an enormous amount of money. And what we have shown is there are very substantial questions about whether that money was handled in an ethical and honest way.
This dude looks like heavily sedated here. I don't know if this is normal for him, but what's normal for Democrats is literally stabbing anyone and everyone in the back and then not caring who goes down in the process. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is an attempt to eliminate some of their own party and rivals for their own personal political gain. Granted, uncovering other truths in the process, it's just a byproduct. But really and truly, this isn't about exposure. This isn't about truth. This isn't about justice. This isn't about fairness or anything, in regard to victims or anything like that. This is not what it seems, folks. Never has been, never will be. Cat Turd says this dude is worth $1.2 billion. Not anymore. Yeah, better yet, he was worth $1.2 billion. And yeah, let's look at these two side by side. Let's look at that, and then let's look at that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is a picture 15 years ago. I don't know. But, oof. Oh well. And here it is, folks. The single biggest code scam in American history. I don't even know what that means. This is the criminal the Democrats chose for the 2024 vice presidency Governor Tim Tampon Walz allowed a group of politically connected Somali criminals, including Ilan Omar, to embezzle approximately $250 million in public funds.
Gang of politically connected Somali fraudsters steal $250 million of your money. It was the single biggest COVID scam in American history. During the pandemic, the government was just giving out money left and right. A nonprofit in Minnesota, Feeding Our Future, got $250 million to send food to needy kids. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. Almost none of it was used for food. The Somali scammers blew our cash on real estate, cars, extravagant get trips. We have wire transfers that show thousands going to car dealerships. $160,000 went to some company in China. And $500,000 was sent to Kenya to buy an apartment. A $500,000 apartment in Kenya is probably a palace. But our tax dollars weren't just used on goodies. The politicians got a taste too. Ilhan Omar got thousands of dollars in donations from some of the scammers. These guys weren't criminal masterminds. It was sloppy. When they cooked the books, they made up names of their fake clients. They came up with these names. Are you ready? Unique Problem, Friday Donations. How'd nobody catch that? Well, early on, Walz's administration thought it looked a little suspicious, so they froze the funds. Then the Somalis sued and called Walz racist, so he kept letting them steal. They didn't bother to crack into the bank accounts or issue subpoenas. Walz just put his hands in the air and said, I'm not racist. Take whatever you want. Minnesota has a huge Somali population. You can't get called racist and expect to win another election there. Walz even gave one of the fraudsters the Minnesota Outstanding Refugee Award. 3 years later, she was indicted. No thanks to Walz, the feds came in after he ignored the problem for years. During the trial, the Somalis tracked down a juror and dropped off a Hallmark bag on their doorstep, filled with 120 G's, and a little note saying there's more to come if she acquits. This all happened under Walz's nose. He had every chance to stop it and failed. Just like he failed to protect his city during the riots, and just like he failed his unit when he retired before deployment. This is the guy Kamala Harris chose as her number 2.
I'm just trying to keep you guys in the know, keep you guys in the loop. Justin, check this out. Tim Tampon Walz is throwing Kamala Harris under the bus. He's calling her lazy and a quitter, according to Jesse Waters. And Walz just underwent a political sex change, surgery, and now wants to join forces with Gavin Newsom to stop the commie invasion. But Gavin's too busy making tortillas. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what this is about. But we're here for it, right?
Hunter Biden's breaking his silence, and he's distancing himself from his daddy.
Do you think Joe Biden was involved in some cover-up? Do you think Jake Tapper's telling the truth when he says that I was the acting chief of staff of the president? I was in that White House 12 days over the course of the last 2 years of the administration. Clearly, because I had other things going on. Okay? You ask one person to go on the record that would ever tell you that I was in any way making a single decision about anything in that White House. I stayed as far away as I possibly could, which, by the way, broke my heart.
It's so bad, even Hunter doesn't want to be associated with the Biden administration. The coup and the landslide shattered the structure of the party into a million pieces. And now it's up to Gavin and Tampon to save it from the commies. Black Rogan, Jamie Harrison, just launched a podcast and booked Tampon as his first guest. And the party's so broke, they couldn't afford 2 couches. So they had to share.
In Winnie the Pooh, you know, Democrats are a donkey, but we are sure as hell are Eeyore most of the time.
Yeah.
It is a woe is me party, and
Yeah,
everything is dark and dim. And the Republicans remind me of Tigger. Tigger will everything up. I mean, he will just mess it all up but never take any ownership of it.
Yeah.
Right? Still hopeful and joyful and bouncing around and messing other things up.
I never thought of that analogy, but it is pretty apt.
Who you calling a Tigger? Trump spent 6 months cleaning up your mess. Democrats are only woe is me because they're the party of women and they're out of power. Trump's bouncing around having a good time because he's pumping up American business. And even though Timmy and Jamie have never run a business, they want you to know they're not Marxists.
Donald Trump sells snake oil or whatever, but it's capturing this idea of wealth and being able to be successful, which we as Democrats, we want people to pay their fair share, but why are we against people being successful like that? We can't be. Why are we against? We should talk about businesses. Not all businesses exploit their workers, and we get ourselves stuck in that.
Oh, well,
and I think we lose them.
Not all businesses exploit their workers. Way to go, Tampon. The Chinese honeymoon's officially over. But the racism, that's still sticking. Tampon says one time a black guy told him not all black guys are criminals.
This is one that Wes Moore is really good at and talked to me about, talking about black men and what happened. And he said, you get a lot of good-hearted politicians that'll come to black men in the community and talk about we restored felon voting rights. And he said, not knowing how insulting that is for these young men.
Tampon just found out not every black guy has a record. Waltz is learning things from all kinds of people. He just found out from his son that Trump's fun.
My son was able to vote as an 18-year-old, and I asked him about his take is, especially young white men, is he said, Dad, a lot of them aren't about the policies. Mm-hmm. They're about the thrill and the excitement, and, Trump brings the circus type of thing.
Yeah. Then it was time to throw Kamala under the bus. And we've never heard this before from him. He's always been a very loyal number two. Tampon called Kamala lazy. He called her a quitter.
Trump even gets the whole thing about, being part of a team, give them the same hat, the same slogans and stuff like that. It's maddening to us. For a while there in August, I think we were giving them that place to go. You gave it to them in Chicago. You gave them something. And then we just kind of quit.
We did.
He didn't quit for 4 years.
Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Democrats may hate Trump, but they love that he's the real deal. Quote, party leaders are swearing more, recording more direct-to-camera videos, and trying to project an authenticity many voters have come to associate with Trump. You can't act authentic. You either are or you aren't. Black Rogan was downright giddy to tell Tampon that the only rule was no rules.
It's family talk. It's street talk.
Yep.
There's no frills, no fancy words. Good. Feel free to drop F-bombs or whatever you got to do whenever you got to do it.
Everybody wants to be like Trump. After 47 served fries at Mickey D's, Gavin's locking up the Hispanic vote, making tortillas. Remember when Trump posted a taco bowl on Cinco de Mayo? They called him racist. But what do they call Gavin sweating in the back of a Mexican restaurant? At least he learned his lesson. He's not serving caviar at the French Laundry. Meanwhile, no matter how hard the white guys try, the commies stealing their base and their property.
Would life be better if we just abolished private property?
I think it probably would be better. That's not what my platform is, that I'm saying to abolish it, but my platform is to decommodify it. The system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now.
Kami Mamdani says abolishing private property is a good idea. This is the guy Democrats are swooning over because he's so authentic. I guess he is authentic. He's saying the things the rest of the Democrats believe but are afraid to say. That's why they love him. So if I understand this correctly, Mamdani is a commie, but he's not running as a commie.
This guy is not a communist. He's not a socialist. He's an advocate for small C capitalism. And that, he really is fighting for the little business guy that's trying to eke out a living in New York. Half of all New Yorkers, get their jobs from small business.
More like small C communist. It is a red wave, and not the good kind. First New York, now Minneapolis. Here's their next mayor.
It is a big spending bill. Like I said, it's $400 million, but to be honest, it's not an expense, it's an investment. It is relatively small compared to the scope of the issue of systemic racism. This country was founded on wealth extraction from the labor of Black people, and that legacy will just not fade by itself. It needs to be uprooted.
This is what the next 3 years is going to look like. Semi-straight white guys trying to win back the working man, while a young communist typhoon sweeps the base off its feet. Even CNN admits the Dems are cooked.
The bottom line is this. Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. Look at where we are now. Democrats are ahead, but by just 2 points. Look at where Democrats were already ahead by in 2017. They were behind by 7 points. How about 2005 on the generic congressional ballot? Ahead by 7 points, ahead by 7 points. And now they're only ahead by 2 points.
Not only are the American people quitting the Democrats, Democrats, like Kamala, are quitting on the American people. Senator Spartacus and his crew are just walking off the job instead of doing it.
Why are you doing this? This is outrageous.
This is a kangaroo court. That's all we have here,
This
Mr.
is
Chairman.
wrong. To violate your own rules without going by the mandates of the parliamentarian. This is unbelievable. There's a way to do this. If you want to force this through, if you want to ram this through, there's a way to do it in accordance to the rules as spelled out by the parliamentarian. It is simple. It is clear. There's a pathway to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Benny Johnson posted this one, and it says Chris Cuomo goes scorched earth on the Wall Street Journal for their fake bombshell Epstein letter. Okay.
I get that he's pissed off, okay? And he's not wrong. This Wall Street Journal piece is a hack job, okay? And he says he's suing Rupert Murdoch, who he, was his buddy. They have, Fox kind of made Trump, and he's suing the Journal. He's suing everybody. He says he didn't write the birthday letter that they're ascribing to him, to Epstein for his 50th birthday. I mean, it's so stupid, okay? The Epstein story is about abusing kids who didn't have the power or agency to do anything about it, that rich and powerful people may have known it was going on and they got away with it. That's the story, okay? It's not that Trump liked a scumbag, okay? Now, I get that in the media this is great because it's bad for Trump and he's going crazy and he's going to pump and move the story for the Wall Street Journal right now by saying it's fake and it's wrong, but it doesn't move the needle in the country. It's going to make you some money, Rupert. Great for you, just what you need. But this is why we can't get anywhere. The guy says, I didn't write the letter. The letter is meaningless. You put out the piece anyway, and there's no light on what really matters.
Look, it's more misdirection, lies, cheating, scandal. Piers Morgan, I don't think you were fired because of your skin color. Why play the race card? Joy Reid says, you're trying to racialize conversations with me. And Piers Morgan says, you racialize more conversations than any host in history. Come on, Joy Reid.
I mean, look, let's be honest. I don't think you were fired after all those years because of your skin color or because you're a black woman. I think you were fired because your show just got increasingly unpopular. It happens all the time in TV. That's why you got let go. Why play the race card?
First of all, I love the fact that your play the race card is your version of the race card. You literally are so fixated on trying to racialize conversations with me, Piers. I find it actually quite charming.
You racialize more conversations in your tenure at MSNBC than any host in history.
All right, Mark. All right, Piers. And the bottom line is you take an entire conversation that I had with Mark Lamont Hill and pick the bits that you can racialize because this is your shtick. And I get that this is your shtick.
You racialize everything, Joy. Come on.
I get it. I understand this is your shtick, Piers. And listen, game recognizes game. I get this is your game.
It's not my shtick.
And the bottom line,
it was your
shtick. It is your shtick, and everyone knows that it is. Piers, we understand what it is. And it is so interesting to me that you yourself, as a white European, find that when people of color talk about race, that you believe is racializing conversations. But when people like you fixate on, well, Barack Obama was a black president, why don't you object to that? That is racializing a conversation about the former president of the United States. But you can't put your, and I'm sure you find that charming and funny.
I find
You
it hilarious
cannot
because
see
you're the
your
one.
own-
You're
Well,
the one
you
who
and
said.
your
You're
friend
the one
Donald
who
Trump,
said Donald Trump.
You and your friend Donald
You
Trump.
said Donald
you and
Trump
your
is a
friend
white
Donald Trump
fascist.
Are so. He is a well. I agree
And
with
yet when
Mark
Obama
Milley,
did the
who
same
is,
thing,
last time I checked, is
I'm not allowed
black.
to mention his
I
skin
agree
color.
with
Like, these folks here, their TDS and far left derangement has just disconnected them from reality so much that they literally believe this shit now as it comes out of their mouth. Or it's just involuntary. It's like an involuntary, like, vomit or something. They just can't control it. Even MSNBC realizes this Wall Street Journal article is complete and utter BS. They were shocked when they learned Elon Musk even cast doubt. The oxygen has been pulled from this narrative in minutes thanks to this platform here, X.
Reporters are now, with this new revelation, going to be certain that Donald Trump was part of the deep state here, become highly suspicious of him, potentially turn on him. We are just within minutes already getting an indication that that is not the direction that this is going. Already, I can quote from Megyn Kelly on X right now, "This is the dumbest attempted hit piece I've ever seen." Then Elon Musk, someone who's been at odds with much of this group lately, has said, yeah, the letter sounds bogus. People on the right now, they're consistently messaging, sort of matching their messaging in some cases already, saying this doesn't sound like him, this isn't how he writes, this doesn't sound like him. So we're already kind of seeing them all build whatever their story, their initial defense is going to be here. And it's always really telling when you see that roll out about how they're going to do the kind of mental gymnastics that in a way we've already seen them do this week. You played some of the sound at the top of this hour of the influencers trying to figure out how they explain why they so deeply care about this case, but they can still sort of attach themselves to this president and adore him even as he angers them because he isn't giving them the thing that he promised them that he would give. And so I just caution people, if you think this is the thing that is now going to like break this whole movement apart, I'm not sure that this is the direction that this is going in. They are probably going to find, he's going to find whatever his message is. I'm sure we're going to get more messages from the president and the White House tonight. I know Vaughn is making those phone calls in Texas. We speak right now. So they're figuring out what that is going to be. And I imagine, at least when it comes to, is Donald Trump connected to the criminal elements of this case here? Is he somehow a member of the deep state that we have been critiquing for a decade plus now? I don't know.
Yeah. And Angelo, that media sphere is more fractured than it has ever been before in this moment. Antonia read us two voices. I wonder what you've been tracking. And secondarily, can we play this out a different way, where Donald Trump had told the Wall Street Journal that he was going to sue them if they ran the piece and they would have chosen not to have run it? What would that have done to the length of this story?
I don't think it would have changed the length of the story. I mean, I think there's enough there. His own behavior is going to keep stumbling.
Elon. I'm on the fence about Elon. And here's a funny little, this is Van Gogh. Is this Van Gogh? Is this Van Gogh style? Or is this Monet? I can't remember exactly. But I'm on the fence about Elon because I was actually thinking about it yesterday. And I was thinking about buying a Tesla. Or at least I would have in the past. And now I feel like I shouldn't. And it's odd. It's weird. And I'm not really sure what's going on with him and Trump. But then I'm also thinking, maybe it's time to move on. But I don't so much care about Jim Farley at Ford. I don't care about Mary Barra at GM. But I care about Elon Musk at Tesla. And it's really impacting my purchasing decision. But I don't know if I'm going to buy another car. And if I do, I don't know if it's going to be a Tesla. She is the one I most want to hear from. Who is she? Okay, so I guess she was the friend. Let's see, where's that picture? Oh, I don't know. I don't have the full picture. So I don't know who she is, but I guess she is a part of this Coldplay scandal here. And New York Post says today's cover, Coldplay frontman Chris Martin made a cheeky remark after a kiss cam exposed a high-profile affair in the crowd at a show on Wednesday, dubbing this the Dumbotron. The tech CEO's affair with HR chief exposed on Coldplay concert screen. What a way to go down. Crash and burn. Adam Schiff posted this one. He says he just finished taping with Stephen Colbert, who announced his show was canceled. And if Paramount and CBS ended this late show for political reasons, the public deserves to know and deserves better. And this one here just kind of falls into that same category of Ron Whedon, and these Democrats literally like torching their own now. And this is actually pretty funny and ironic considering Democrats torching their own, because I watched a little bit of this yesterday, and here it is. Let's see here. So I watched a little bit of this yesterday. The 48-hour rebellion, how Trump crushed Benny Johnson. And veteran biker literally leans into the opportunity to leverage Benny Johnson and Benny Johnson's take on President Trump and President Trump's affiliation with the Epstein files currently. And granted, Pam Bondi is supposed to release something today about the Epstein file. I can't remember exactly what it was. I have to pull it up. But what has happened, what I see happening, is we've got Democrats turning on Democrats while also getting Republicans to turn on Trump, while also getting conservative influencers to turn on each other at the same time, creating this like jumbled up, bubbled mass of just anger and rage and fury. They're furious.
There are elites in our society that could care less about the lives of the hundreds of millions of regular people in this nation, of which I am and you are. And in fact, they abuse us.
There is nothing worse than ingratitude. Nothing. It's the ugliest of all the sins. And folks, we've just witnessed one of the most stunning, most pathetic displays of ungrateful betrayal I've ever seen in politics. That's right. I'm talking about Benny Johnson, a man who has made millions of dollars packaging and selling the MAGA movement back to itself. A man who built a media empire on the back of Donald Trump and the loyalty of his base. He took your clicks, took your support, cashed your checks, your super chats with a full bank account and a big head. He decided to turn around and try to stab the entire movement in the back. For what? For his own ego? For his own ambition? Let's be very clear about what happened. For years, the promise of exposing the rot in the Epstein case was the holy grail. It was the content that fueled channels like Benny's. It was the crusade that President Trump promised to lead. This wasn't just a story for them, it was a product. And they sold it to you every damn day. Benny Johnson has a checkered past. He was fired from BuzzFeed for 26 counts of plagiarism.
And at the end of the day, I think this just destroys and it discredits and it just damages all the good that was done and could be done moving forward, because we're about to draw a hard line in the sand. It just looks like a fucking rake. You're going to draw a line in the sand using a fucking rake and just scatter that shit about, because no one's going to know which way to look. No one's going to know which way to turn. No one's going to know which way is up, who to trust, who to believe. And incorporating more clickbait, junk, AI, lies, and shit, like, it's going to be a freaking mess. And that's exactly why I said I'm anxious to see how the midterms go. Stick with me here, folks. if you want. Otherwise, have at it. But I'm going to stay focused here and make sure that we are ready, we're prepared, and most importantly, we have the best chance of success at winning. As I mentioned lies, this may be a great opportunity to share this story here from Lives of TikTok that says, remember that woman who Democrats in the media claim was kidnapped from a parking lot by ICE, shoved into an unmarked car, held in a building, starved to force her to self-deport? Well, turns out she staged the entire kidnapping. She's now facing criminal charges for conspiracy and making false statements to federal officers.
The Department of Justice has filed criminal charges against a South LA woman saying she staged a fake immigration kidnapping. Uriana Julie Calderon is facing charges of conspiracy and making false statements to federal officers. Last month, the local activist said she was taken from a South LA parking lot by so-called bounty hunters and into federal custody. She also claimed she was held at a facility near the border where she was urged to self-deport. Homeland Security called this case a hoax and say they found her on July 5th at a shopping center in Bakersfield. They also say phone records and surveillance video proves her story is not true. She is currently in custody, awaiting her first court appearance.
Trust but verify, folks. Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear. Breaking: after getting his show canceled, Stephen Colbert was seen leaving in shame after not answering any questions. Good riddance, loser. Trump won again.
Stephen, anything you'd like to say to your fans about the cancellation?
No, you guys are going.
Good night, John. Hey. Thanks, bud.
You'll be all right? Oh, yeah. I'll be fine.
Stephen Colbert announcing to his audience that his show has been canceled.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on 7 Bridges Road. What a voice. I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of The Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away. And I do want to say that the folks at CBS have been great partners. I'm so grateful to the Tiffany Network for giving me this chair and this beautiful theater to call home. And of course, I'm grateful to you, the audience, who have joined us. Every night, in here, out there, all around the world, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. I'm grateful to share the stage with this band, these artists over here every night. And I am extraordinarily, deeply grateful to the 200 people who work here. We get to do this show. We get to do this show for each other every day, all day. And I've had the pleasure and the responsibility of sharing what we do every day with you in front of this camera for the last 10 years. And let me tell you, it is a fantastic job. I wish somebody else was getting it. And it's a job that I'm looking forward to doing with this usual gang of idiots for another 10 months. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
We're going to lock in.
Y'all ready?
Let's go.
Y'all ready? Okay. That's all I wanted to say. Dante, let's do the show. Jazz cowboy, drop it on the poof.
It's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
And Cat Turd says, I can't believe this got canceled. Oh, yeah. Who'd have thought, I couldn't miss, right? Dave Portnoy, talk about making mistakes being made here, folks. sold his XRP 2 weeks ago.
I'm getting ready to go to bed. And I can't lie to my people. I have a confession. I sold XRP when it went up to 240 because the guy who told me to buy it told me that I should sell it because he thought Circle would compete with him. And he was unhappy with it. It's up 60% since I sold it, and I would have made millions, and I want to cry, and I don't own it anymore. Even though I was like the leader of the XRP army, I sold it. Good night.
Ouch. If you know, you know, right? And do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years? Asks Piers Morgan. And Joy Reid goes, I don't know, and I don't care.
Do you know how many people Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, why don't you guess?
I don't know and don't care.
Well,
you
hang
tell
on,
me.
hang on. You don't know and you don't care. You've just
I don't,
given me
because it's not the
you've
issue.
Just given, hang on,
You're
hang
trying
on,
to
hang
make
on.
the issue the
Hang
southern
on,
border.
Joy. You've
the
just given me
is,
Joy.
Donald, no,
Joy.
No, the point is,
Joy.
Barack
You've just given me
Obama
Joy.
was not dragging
Joy.
women
Joy.
and
Let me finish.
and,
You've just
nursing
Joy.
babies apart
Joy.
and
Joy.
taking.
Joy. You've just given me.
I'm sure going to tell me it's your main issue.
You've just given me
but it's not my main issue. My main issue is that what we're seeing.
I'm trying to finish my sentence. You've just given me a lengthy monologue attacking Donald Trump's aggressive deportation policy. And I've simply said to you, there was a Democrat, a black Democrat president of the United States for 8 years. I'm simply asking, given that you're obviously all over every detail of the Trump deportation policy, and given you were on the airwaves in America on a daily basis through Obama's tenure, how many people did he deport in 8 years?
I do not know. You'll tell me. I'm sure.
Have a guess.
But it's probably more than 1 million people. I'm quite certain.
Have a
because
guess.
I think each 2 million.
Right. It was 3 million.
Okay. And your point being what?
My point
What's
being,
the point?
are you as shocked by that as you are claiming to be by Trump?
It is not deportations
Many of them were
themselves that
brown.
are shocking. Wait a minute. Can I answer
in
your
fact,
question?
the majority were brown.
There you have it, folks. Democrats in a nutshell. More from Elizabeth Warren. CBS canceled Colbert's show just 3 days after Colbert called out CBS parent company Paramount for its $16 million settlement with Trump. A deal that looks like bribery. America deserves to know if his show was canceled for political reasons.
My parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I'm offended. And I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would help. This settlement is for a nuisance lawsuit Trump filed claiming that 60 Minutes deceptively edited their interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris last fall. Paramount knows they could have easily fought it because, in their own words, the lawsuit was completely without merit. And keep in mind, Paramount produced Transformers: Rise of the Beast. They know completely without merit. Now, unlike the payoffs from ABC and Twitter, Paramount's settlement did not include an apology. Instead, that's good. Instead, the corporation released a statement where they said, "You may take our money, but you will never take our dignity. You may, however, purchase our dignity for the low, low price of $16 million. We need the cash." Now, I believe... What can I say? Mr. Stephen loves to dance. Now, I believe that this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe. Because this all comes as Paramount's owners are trying to get the Trump administration to approve the sale of our network to a new owner, Skydance. Not the music I was expecting? Okay. That was me dancing in the sky. And some of the TV typers out there are blogging that once Skydance gets CBS, the new owner's desire to please Trump could put pressure on late-night host and frequent Trump critic Stephen Colbert. Okay. But how are they going to put pressure on Stephen Colbert if they can't find him?
Again, I'll ask, what good is the truth if everyone believes the lie? And perhaps maybe the show should have been canceled right after Mark Cuban did this.
You're shiny, orange, and empty inside. I'd say you're a traffic cone, but I would swerve to avoid a traffic curve.
That's gonna leave a mark, Cuban.
Donald, do you know that to be a billionaire, you have to have the billion part in your bank account, not just the air.
Tom, you just fell into the shark tank.
Donald, I know you have no shot with Hispanics, because there's no way in hell you're getting the Cuban vote. Donald, the only way you're worth $10 billion is if I paid you $9.5 billion